Hi everyone, hope you guys are doing great today. So we have a pretty interesting one for you today. I just think that I need to vent. I got to be honest with you. And what we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about four guys that have been very vocal during Francis Ngannou's negotiation with the different promotion before he signs with the PFL, and that are still being a lot active to tell and educate Ngannou, telling Ngannou what to do, how he should behave, where he should go, how fast he should do things. Like if the guy himself can't think about him, can't think for himself, right? That Ngannou doesn't know what is best for him. That he doesn't know what is best for his family or for his countrymen, or again how he needs to be helping the let's say the other fighters, right? I mean, it's only those four guys that knows exactly how it works, right? And they're schooling him, and they want to help him and show him basically the way out of their good heart, from what it seems, right? So I call these guys the Mickey Mouse bunch, right? And we have in there heading the procession, we have Chael Sonnen, of course. This guy is a serial video releaser of Francis Ngannou, on Francis Ngannou, right? I mean, he kicks out YouTube video on Francis Ngannou like every other second. I mean, it's unbelievable. We just have to check his YouTube page, right? We have Brandon Chaub. Brandon Chaub, I mean, I don't know who's this guy, and from what I understand, he's not that popular. And man, he's doing tricks and trade for to have people on his show and to have attention on his podcast, from what I understand, right? And also we have these two little misfits, right? That thing that, I mean, that are basically nobodies. That thing that they know a lot about MMA, that they know anything about everything about MMA, right? And we have Jesse on Fire. Jesse on Fire. Oh my God, man! I mean, this guy must be on something, to be honest with you. And I do understand why they call him Jesse on Fire now. I mean, this guy must be at least he must be on speed, right? If it's not something else, right? To be honest, you just have to look at his eyes. You just have to look at him go. This guy is not natural, for sure. It's not natural. So you got him, and you got his buddy, because mind you that these guys are actually collaborating on the podcast. I mean, you got to talk about your Dumb and Dumber collaborating on the podcast. Self-proclaimed MMA guru, that is the second part of that collaboration. This guy is totally out of whack, to be honest with you. Doesn't know nothing but thinks that he knows everything, and he's the worst on like his aggressiveness against Francis Ngannou. I don't know, man. At one point, it's kind of things. It seems that it's personal between him and Ngannou, right? Although they don't live in the same sphere. They really don't live in the same world, especially him. I don't know where he lives, but for sure it's not on Earth. Right, and I don't even know if it's in the same solar system, right? So let's go and let's just look a little bit at the type of headlines that they have on their video. Let's start with Chael Sonnen. Chael Sonnen, right? No boxing opponent for Francis Ngannou. Now that he knows that Francis Ngannou has signed a great PFL deal, right? That he had almost everything that he requested and more, right? Now he's going after the boxing part of it, saying that, first of all, he didn't say shit about things like for the first part, which is signing with the MMA, but actually he should be thanked. People should thank him, because he's the one who predicted that Ngannou was signing with the PFL. Man, this guy's delusional, totally crazy. Let's look at his second headline. His second headline: the worst fight negotiation in MMA history. He's like, and he got this one out during the negotiation that Ngannou had with the different MMA promotions, right? We're gonna talk about Bellator, we're gonna say PFL, right? Because it seems like bare knuckle, these guys was hallucinating when he was talking that thing, saying that he talked to Ngannou. Forget it, right? Just lies. I mean, flat out lies, right? So yeah, so that's your Chael Sonnen saying that. I want to say something, by the way, when I read this, right? Because again, he totally missed the mark, right? I mean, you can see that he was totally out of it, right? To say that it was the worst fight negotiation in MMA history, when we know the outcome now, and that we can see that, I mean, it's totally the opposite, right? Totally the opposite, right? So he didn't know shit. Although, I mean, this is important. Although these guys are actually respected by casual fans, and I can count myself as a casual fan. I mean, what the hell, right? They're respected because, I mean, they're former MMA fighters, right? They're supposed to have their connection in the industry, in the company, the UFC company. They're supposed to have those inside information that are setting them apart from these little weasels that we see here, these little Ariel L1 wannabe, Jesse on fire, or Jesse on speed, and the MMA guru there, right? They're supposed to be better than these boys, right? But no, they're even worse than them. So when they're worse than them, man, I'm starting to ask myself question, because already there it doesn't make sense. It really does not make sense, right? And maybe that's why actually the MMA guru and the Jesse on crack, or the Jesse on speed, oh sorry, the Jesse on fire, right? Or repeating and carrying their narrative and what they're talking about, right? So here it is. The worst fight negotiation in MMA history. Do you really think that this was the worst fight negotiation in MMA history? Tell me now, right? But maybe at the time that he released it, when we didn't know about the outcome of the negotiation, we would have been tempted to believe what he was saying at face value, because these guys is an MMA insider. He's a UFC insider, right? So we also have that Brendan Schaub guy. I mean, we don't know about this guy. I don't know. I didn't even know this guy was a former MMA fighter, right? I didn't even know that. The only thing that I knew is that, like, he seems to be talking with a hot potato in his mouth, right? And that from time to time I don't understand shit of what he's saying, right? So him is basically, apart from all the same shit that he's saying, oh, Francis Ngannou is hard to deal with, oh, Francis Ngannou has asking too much money, oh, Francis Ngannou made a big mistake to leave the UFC, the great UFC, right? He's even going one step further. He's going one step further. I mean, Francis Ngannou, nobody needs you, bro. Nobody needs you. I mean, we do understand your story. We love the guy, because that's what they're saying. All these guys, right? All these lunatics there, all these hypocrites there. That's what they say, right? You know what? We love Francis Ngannou. Don't get us wrong. We love him. And actually, we want to help him, right? Do the right thing, right? We get it. We understand. You know, he's got a great story. I mean, the sand mines, crossing the ocean, the sharks. The jail in Spain, going in France, sleeping in. We get it. We get all of that, and we love the dude. But nobody needs him. You know, nobody needs you, right? So this is how it is. This is how hypocrites these guys are. But let's move on, right? Because we don't only have those former MMA fighters that everybody believes, right? Because they're supposed to have inside information and verified information, right? But we also have these little geeks here, these little weasels here. The first one, Jesse on speed. What am I talking about? Yeah, Jesse on fire, right? Just look at the eyes. He looks like a lunatic. Like I don't know, man. But again, I'm saying this guy he's not natural. He's got to be taking something. So his let's look at his headline. Like, Francis Ngannou apologized to Dana White and the UFC. Why? And he's saying he's out of good option. And this was during Francis Ngannou's negotiation when he didn't sign yet, right? So he was going at it, man. The guy he was going at it. No hold bars, right? And the second one, that he released, massive strategic blunder. Massive strategic blunder. I mean, this isn't the same line as what the Chael Sonnen, the Brandon Chaub was carrying out, right? And it was just a loud cheerleader that was carrying also that narrative there, right? And last but really not least, we have that guy. I mean, he's an extraterrestrian, right? I mean, he's an alien. He's not from he's not from that planet. Let me tell you that much, right? And again, like I was saying, he's not even from. He's from another solar system, right? He's from another galaxy altogether, right? So we're gonna start slow with him. We got 4 headers for him, and you're gonna realize that this guy, I don't know, he's got to be personal. Something's got to be personal in there, right? So he's saying Ngannou is not a star. We get that, right? I don't know, like what you have to do to be a star, but he's saying that Ngannou is not a star, right? Then he goes on the next headlines and the next video to say that, okay, back fumbled by Ngannou, right? And again, I mean, this one must have been actually after that Ngannou signs the deal with the PFL, right? So the guy basically, what he's saying right now is that the deal signed by Ngannou with the PFL is a failure. That's what he's telling us. I mean, can you believe the level of stupidity, right? The level of stupidity, of dumbness of this guy. He's saying that the deal that Francis Ngannou signed with the PFL is a bogus, is a failed agreement, is a failed contract. Is this serious? Ngannou got practically all that he wanted, right? Even the right to box and to promote himself without the PFL putting his hand, without the PFL putting his hand in his pocket, right? Which is maybe what the UFC wanted to do. Again, providing that they would agree for him to fight, right? So he's telling us that the bug is fumbled, and that the only thing that can save the deal is to have a fight now with Fury or Deontay Wilder. Other than that, no, forget it. He fumbled. Raise my case. He fumbled. I was right. But at the same time, he's telling us that he's right, though. That he's right. That he said, that he predicted that Ngannou was going to sign with the PFL. I mean, this guy is something else. He's an alien, right? But it's not finished. Let's move on and let's see. Because I do believe that this guy really has something personal against Ngannou. I don't know if he made a bet with his other alien friends from, I don't know, the other galaxies there. But it seems it's becoming a lot more personal here. So let's listen to this. Like, Guru ridiculizes Ngannou, right? And in a little inside picture, you see here, he's calling him a whiny little bitch. He's calling Ngannou a whiny little bitch, right? And the last one, but not least, is the self-proclaimed MMA guru calling Ngannou big dumb retard. Big dumb retard. Whiny little bitch and big dumb retard. Don't forget that all these guys, right? All these guys are claiming that all that they're saying to help Ngannou, that they love the guy, they love his story. But he's a whiny little bitch, though. They really love his story. I mean, crossing the ocean, the sandmine, everything. But you know what? He's a big dumb retard. He's a big dumb retard, right? That's what he is. So, man, we got 4 guys here that are talking, through both holes, through all the holes of their body, right? And especially for one in particular, right? And that are saying basically that they want to help the guy, that they know better what is good for this guy than the guy himself, basically, right? So that these guys should listen to him and speak right against the wall, right through the wall, right? You know what I mean? But we see Francis Ngannou here. We know how he's made, right? I mean, he's been confronted with challenges, I mean, all his life. I mean, that's what he's saying. His life is challenges, right? And right after the deal that he signed with the PFL, I mean, I guess that's what he's saying to people. And that's what he's saying to people like that. Yeah, I understand you want to help me, but you know what? I'll be all right. I'll be okay. I'm good. Mind your business. Mind about yourself. Take care of yourself. I'm good. Very good, right? So please shut the F up, right? And let me live my life. Branding, showing that contract that he signed with the PFL, making of him, I mean, one of the most expensive and valuable signing in the MMA history as a free agent, right? Nothing less, right? But like I said, you got this alien of MMA guru, and the other one as well that are saying that, oh yeah, hold on, I mean, this is not it. This is not it. He said he wanted to fight against. He said that he wanted to fight against Fury, right? He said that he wanted to fight against Fury or Deontay Wilder. As long as he hasn't done that, I mean, he fumbled it. You know what? He fumbled it, right? So that's where we're at right now. So let's look a little bit closer about the situation that is happening, because to be honest with you, there's a lot of distraction that is going on here that is trying to put a real big smoke screen on everything that is going on right now. Because to be honest with you people, what we're talking about, like Francis Ngannou scared of John Jones scared of Francis Ngannou, is there going to be a fight or not, so all this stuff, to be honest with you, and this is just distraction. This is trying to distract us for the main things that we're talking about, the main arguments that is consistent here, which is fighters' pay, fighters' healthcare, right? The ability for fighters to maybe have another premium option than the UFC, right? And how it's going to give them a lot more freedom, right? And a lot more leverage, because they will have that option because of maybe the little competition that is going to exist, at least, you know, to acquire the fighters between the UFC and the PFL. And these two organizations, when you think about it, have very, 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 very different strategies and very different ideologies when it comes to running their business, right? And especially towards the fighters, where you see that an organization like the UFC is more like money driven and really don't care about what's happening to the fighters and want to control those fighters, right? And want to handcuff them and tie them up so that they cannot, they don't have the choice but to follow the line of the UFC. While on the other hand, they're trying to take care of the fighters. They try to listen to the fighters. From what I understand from their CEO, they understand, they listen to the fighter, they understand the fighters, and they also acknowledge that without the fighters, one, there will be no promotion. That without the fans, there will be no promotions, right? Without the journalists and the media, there will be no promotion. They do acknowledge all this, right? But when you talk to the UFC, that's not what they acknowledge, right? They want to have everything in control. They have the monopoly and they want to keep it, and they want to keep it that way, which is not the way of the future, unfortunately for them, right? So let's move a little bit on, because we're dragging a little bit on certain things. And we're going to go deep a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit about, you know, what's going on with these guys. I mean, why so much hatred, right? So let's go and let's try to understand what is common between two. And we would have understood, right, directly what is common between these four Mickey Mouse, this Mickey Mouse bunch, right? And these four guys. Yeah, so basically you would have guessed, you would have understand, because you guys are smart, right? You're not like me, and you're especially you're not like them, I hope. But you would have understood that what is linking those two guys, and where these four guys, and what is common for them is their hatred towards Francis Ngannou, and what Francis Ngannou is achieving right now, which is, in my opinion, historical. And people need to take notice of that, and need to understand that in any case, things are changing. The industry is going to change, and the industry is changing. They might slow it down with their different tactics, or try to distract with John Jones scared, the John Jones fight. John Jones is going to fight Fury. All that. They can try to distract it, but the industry is changing no matter what, right? It's going to change, right? In regards to fighters' pay, fighters' healthcare, an advocacy for fighters on the board, things like that, right? And I don't understand, to be honest with you, why the likes of the Brandon Chaubs or this guy Chael Sonnen, right, who have been former MMA fighters, can go against what Ngannou is achieving right now. And that is historical things that maybe back in the days when those guys had their asses in the octagon, they would have liked to, to use, they would have liked to have, right? So I just don't understand it. How can you go against, the awareness that this guy is trying to raise on those different topics, the fighters pay, the healthcare, the advocacy for the fighters, right? I don't get it, right? So, and on top of that, they've been fighters, right? I mean, they've been in the UFC. They actually fought for the UFC. They did business with the UFC, right? And then they know that everything that Ngannou is talking about right now is all out true, right? So all of it is true, right? I mean, this guy didn't wake up one morning and say that, yeah, it's a beautiful day today. Look at this. You know what? I'm bored. I think that I'm going to go bust Dennis balls, right? I don't think it's like that, to be honest with you. I really, 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 really don't think that it's like that, right? And at the end of the day, when you think about it, this guy had to go through, and he told us his story, right? And he went through hell. He went through hell with the UFC, trying to, first of all, sign a new contract deal, right? And when he knew what this guy did to him, right? So I don't understand. I just don't get it, guy. I mean, somebody has to explain this to me. Why the Chael Sonnen are such in disagreement with this guy, right? Why they're not backing him up, right? Why they're not backing up someone is trying to improve other fighters' conditions, right? I don't understand that, right? Because at the end of the day, with all the issue that he had with the UFC, I do believe that the UFC themselves put themselves in that situation, in the situation that they are currently, and that they created themselves their own boogeyman, right? So to see the Brandon Chaub and to see the Chael Sonnen coming out with videos to rescue the UFC and to go against their fellow fighters, right? I mean, shame just doesn't kill, guys. Otherwise, we'd be mourning right now, right? Shame does not kill. How can those guys go against, anyone who's trying to improve the fighters' conditions, knowing that they've been in their shoes, that they've been in their situation as well? This is incredible. This is unbelievable, right? I would have never expected that. I mean, even I don't know. I'm trying to understand why. Like, is it jealousy? I don't think it is jealousy. I mean, jealousy is not enough to do that, right? And to negate all the good things that is going to come out of this for the other fighters, or even for the industry in general, right? Is it pure greed? Maybe it's greed, but then again, greed. I don't know if it's enough, right? I don't know if it's enough. I mean, I just can't wrap my head around the reason why these two guys are so motivated and dedicated to tarnish that man's legacy or to diminish his credibility and accomplishment, right? I don't understand it, right? And the only way for me to try to make any sense of all of this is to assume that these guys are on the payroll of the UFC. That's the only thing for me that would make sense, because then they would be scared to lose the bag, or they, for their family, I mean, the mortgages and yeah, I could understand that, right? And I think that's how the UFC in any case operate, right? They put you in the situation where you got the need, you need them, right? And they got you in a chokehold, and if you move, they choke you a little bit more, so you walk straight, right? So that's the only reason I can think of. I mean, going against someone who is trying to do his part, kind of to level up the industry, or at least, right, to give the fighters, but not only the fighters, by the way, right, but to give the entire MMA industry another option that the monopoly of the UFC, right? That's noticeable. I mean, you're talking about a little kid from the sand mines that we're talking about here, that they were talking at the beginning. A little kid that, I don't know, crossed the ocean, right, with all the sharks and so on and so forth. I mean, you guys know his story, right? You guys know his story, right? Listen, when we're talking about the monopoly of the UFC, right, I saw a video the other day of I think it was on the podcast, the Weigh In podcast with Josh Thompson and Big John, right? Great podcast, by the way. And these guys were saying the following, that I mean, it was sickening how journalists were tiptoeing and ass-kissing Dana White and his management team, right? And how they were afraid shitless to ask them the real questions. And we can actually see that ourselves, right? During the post-fighting interview. I mean, people are scared about Dana White, Dana White is pretty aggressive from time to time, man. And he can get back at you pretty fast, right? You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, these guys are totally right. We can see that there's totally no freedom in speaking, right? Whether it is from the journalists, whether it is from the especially from the fighters. But you know what? From the fans as well. All the fans are following these UFC narratives and are kissing Dana's ass like it was golden, man. Like it was gold. And that's unbelievable, right? I mean, at the end of the day, I heard that people were saying that, how do you recognize a free society? I mean, you recognize a free society and free people by the capacity to be able to speak freely, right? Again, you recognize a free society and free people by their capacity to be able to speak freely and to speak freely their mind. And what we see here is that this is definitely not an option that the UFC is giving anybody, right? They're not giving that option to the fans. They're not giving that option to the journalists. And most of all, they're not giving that options to the fighters. They're not even listening to the fighters. I mean, they got all types of mumbo jumbo tricks and trade to force the guys into deals that put them in worse situation than they were before, right? They got these tricks and we know that, right? So basically, when you think about it, PFL will give another option to these guys, to everyone in the industry, to all the players that are in the MMA industry. Because if the PFL, mind you, if their stunt work, right, then the battle for coverage, example, if we're talking about the journalists, is really going to be there. Instead of the journalists chasing the UFC, I guess it's going to be the other way around, because they're not going to want them to cover only the PFL, right? So you got to think about that. And if everybody is thinking that way, whether it is the journalists that I just show here, or whether it is the fans, and even more if it is the fighters, right, that are making the UFC understand by their movement and by signing with the PFL that yes, there's another options, there's another premium option, not a back alley or a backdrop options, right? Demotion options, right? But another premium organization that can give them the same type of value and the same type of visibility that they have with the UFC, right? Then mind you that the UFC is going to take notice. And to be honest with you, right, I do believe that the UFC is already taking notice, right? The way that I see that they're moving and operating right now on social media, right, on YouTube, trying to discredit the guy, trying to challenge him, and trying now to lure Tyson Fury towards them, and trying to distract us from the real issues that are the fighters pay, and the fact that the PFL right now is knocking at the door, right? These are serious time. These are historical time, my guy. These are historical time, right? So I do believe that at the end of the day, what Ngannou is kind of showing, right? I mean, it's showing that in terms of fighters, we do have there's a lot more leverage than what they think of, and that with the PFL being around, being in the equation, that is going to force the UFC to think again, and maybe to think about the fighters' pay, the fighters' pay, to think about the fighters' healthcare, to think about the advocate of the fighters, and not just to think about their purse and the number of views because that's how they see us, right? They see us as numbers. They see us as pay-per-view buys. They see us as clickbaits. They see us as this and that. They see us as numbers. They don't talk about us as fans, right? That is not the same thing, and that is not respect, right? Which is not, from what I understand, what the PFL is all about, right? So let me tell you this, right? When I'm talking about the two little misfits, let me come back a little bit towards the two little misfits there that are actually, just the little followers and the backdrop of those Chael Sonnen and Jesse on Fire, right? Let me talk a little bit about these two guys. I mean, for these two guys, I do understand that they can be talking trash and shit about Ngannou, because at the end of the day, they're not insiders. They don't have their connection into the UFC or the MMA circles, right? They're just little guys that think that that they're having fun on YouTube. They have followers, so they're having fun, and it's good for them, right? To be honest with you, I'm happy for them, right? But they don't know shit, actually. They don't have the right information. They maybe have like third, fourth, fifth hand information, which is nothing with this shit, actually, right? So they don't know no better. And like the Bible say, I mean, guy, please forgive them as they don't know what they are doing, right? So and I'm pretty sure that the idea or sport of these guys is just to sit down in front of the TV, grabbing a pack of chip and watching the fights, right? And after that, they wake up 2 hours later, like in sweat and thinking that they have run like the marathon, right? So I don't mind these guys, right? Because again, at the end of the day, they don't know shit. They don't know what they're doing, right? And what's funny is that they're always thinking that they know everything. They're always thinking that, yes, they predicted this and that, right? The PFL, they predicted the different clause of the contract. They predicted that this was going to happen, the boxing fights, and this and that, right? But at the end of the day, they didn't predict anything, right? So I'm going to tell you something. These two guys I don't mind, but when we're talking about the Chael Sonnen and the Brandon Chaub, I think that these guys are doing a big disservice right now to the fighters community, right? In siding up with the UFC, because we're living an historical moment right now. I mean, this is an historical moment, and I think that this historical moment requires people to take parts, to take sides. I do believe so. Or to stay neutral, or to take side, or to stay on the side, actually, right? So right now, the side that they're taking, it is the side of the bosses, right? It is the side of the UFC, is the side of the Dana White, who don't want to give a shit about fighters, who don't want to give a shit about hearing about fighters' pay, who don't want to give shit about hearing about fighters' healthcare, right? So they're taking those sides while they know what is the reality of the fighters. They went through it. They lived it, right? But they still choose the boss's side, right? Which is unbelievable. But like people say, right? Real recognize real, right? And at the end of the day, history will remind them and put them at their right at their right positions, right? History will remember them and put them at their right position and give them the legacy that they deserve, right? Already, when we talk about real legacy here, and we're talking about what they have accomplished in terms of as MMA fighters. I mean, when we're talking about Chael Sonnen, which is, I think, was the most known and maybe did the most thing in the octagon, right? We're not talking about a lot. What did he really accomplish in the octagon, which is nothing. The only thing that maybe accomplished, came close to beating Anderson Silva and got submitted towards the end while he was like cruising to an easy victory. What again? Got beat up by John Jones. Maybe that's why he's riding high on his behind. I don't know. What legacy is there for them when they left as nothing, basically. And now the legacy that is trying to live, right, after following that historical moment, because yes, it is an historical moment, right? They're trying to choose the side of the bosses of the UFC, of Dana White, right? Which is, to be honest with you, a losing side. But what do you expect from losers? I'm not even talking about Brandon Chaub, because we don't know. He doesn't even exist as an MMA fighter, because he didn't leave no trace, right? no trust at all, right? No legacy, right? And the legacy that he wants to live right now is that legacy. That's stupid. That's ridiculous. So, guys, this is what I wanted to tell you. This is what I wanted to tell you, and we can see like John Jones, the champion, like right now on the screen, right? And you know what? That gives me an idea before I let you go, right? It's been already like maybe 35 minutes. I hate doing that things that are so long, but man, like it's every time I'm trying to do something 5 minutes and it lasts like an hour and a half. But let's try to finish in 5 to 10 minutes right now, right? I just want to say the following, right? I mean, you again, right? To me, all these guys are hypocrites, right? Are two-faced hypocrites, lunatic, schizophrenic, everything that finishes in ick, guys, type of people, right? That claim that they know everything, while in fact, to be honest with you, first of all, they don't know anything. Second of all, they're talking from both sides of their mouth. They're hypocritical, like two-faced liars. Because some of them, I mean, it's just plain lies that they're telling us right now, right? Plain lies. That's all I can say right now. So I'm just gonna give you an example, right? Just give you an example about the way that these guys behave, right? Let's talk about John Jones for just a little second. Now, John Jones is the champion that now they praise, right? At one time, they didn't praise John Jones, but now they praise him. John Jones is the greatest. Chael Sonnen. John Jones cannot be beaten. John Jones, how can you say? He's so funny. He knows how to attract attention. Like, you know, he went into Maurice Green, did a little cameo, like, oh, Francis Ngannou is just a little pussy. P words, and mind you that he was very prude. He didn't want to say the word, right? He didn't want to say poo. Yeah, he didn't want to say the word. He was very prude, right? But he was very happy that John Jones did that little thing. So he seems to be all in on John Jones now, right? And like Brandon Chaub said himself, I mean, Brandon Chaub said it himself. He's an Ngannou dick rider. That's his own word. To be honest with you, that's his own words, right? So let's take a little look at the champion, at the type of champion that they're praising and that they compare to Francis Ngannou, right? I mean, let's look a little bit at this champion, right? Okay, the deal with the okay, let's pop. I think that we got the wrong one here. Let's move a little bit forward. Okay, here is our guy in all his glory, right? The great champion, because I mean, this is the champion of the UFC approved. The guy that is carrying the brand and the brand of the UFC, right? I mean, he represents the UFC right now, right? And what is this guy? Okay, the guy was charged for misdemeanor, battery, domestic violence. Right? Misdemeanor, battery, domestic violence. So here you got somebody that was charged with domestic violence, somebody who's beating women, right? That's the first, but it's not over yet. It's not over yet. DWI, right? DWI. The guy's been arrested, right? For DWI, right? Fantastic. I mean, that's a champion for you, right? Driving while intoxicated. Right? That's what we have right here. We have a guy that has been driving while intoxicated, and you know what happened? Well, definitely what happened is that he struck into a woman's car. The woman was pregnant, and he left the scene. He fled the scene of the accident, like without any assistance to that pregnant woman. So taking absolutely no responsibilities. And what would have happened? What could have happened to that woman? Maybe she could have died. Who knows? She could have died. Luckily, she didn't. She was wounded, had little injuries. She didn't die. She wasn't, but she could have. And this guy didn't take any responsibility. He fled the scene of that accident without any assistance to that woman. 218. He's got his license revoked. Why? For testing positive to drug. So what do we have here as well? We have a cheater, a known cheater, because I mean he hasn't failed once, or he hasn't failed it once. He failed it twice, right? Failed it twice. Felony hit and run charges, testing positive for cocaine. So that's the guy that right now they're telling us is the better man. I mean, that's the champion right now that they're praising. I mean, guy, people, when every time you're gonna see his face, and every time you're going to see the Chael Sonnen of this world talk about like John Jones praising him. Oh, John Jones. I mean, like Chael Sonnen say, yeah, I'm gonna say the same thing about him. Like, I mean, he's a good-looking guy the way that I see him. I mean, I don't know if he's about 55 or 4 or 65. If Chael Sonnen is about 45 or 65, but he's a good looking guy, but he's talking shit. I mean, Chael Sonnen is definitely talking shit when he's talking about John Jones. Tell me, what is John Jones going to bring? I mean, is John Jones good? The guy who's going to bring, who has the type of story and history that is going to bring the industry of MMA into mainstream? I don't think so. I don't think so. His history is shit, right? What is going to teach people? He's going to teach your kid, or he's going to teach Chael Sonnen how to beat up his wife without leaving any trace? Is that what he's going to teach John? I mean, maybe that's what Chael Sonnen is proud of. Maybe he's already taught him how to do that, how to beat up his wife without leaving any trace. We don't know. Maybe he told him as well, you know what? The best way is to drive drunk. Maybe that's why he's going to tell the kids, right? Maybe that's why he's going to tell people on TV. Maybe that's why he's telling Chael Sonnen how to drive drunk. I mean, that's the best thing. And also, especially if you have an accident, right? Don't stop. Run away. Don't pay attention. Don't face your responsibilities. Just run away, right? And also, it's good to cheat because he's a cheater, right? Sorry, that no contest was Daniel Cormier. That got Daniel Cormier crying like a baby, right? So when I hear the Daniel Cormier sometime alluding that he's behind John Jones, man, it's kind of feels strange to me, to be honest with you. Somebody is kind of playing, that's not good. It hurts. Sorry, what? So. Guys, what is going to? So you got a woman beater. You got a guy who's got arrested for domestic violence. You got a guy who got arrested for driving with while intoxicated, right? You got a guy who's a cheater who got his license revoked because of failing drug test, right? Twice, right? You got a guy who ran felony hit and run charges, and you got a guy who tested positive to cocaine. I mean, that's a great champion for you. UFC approved, Dana White approved, and I guess Chael Sonnen approved. Brandon Chaub approved, as Brandon Chaub said, like he's a dick rider. Brandon Chaub approved, and also I guess MMA Guru approved. What have you? Yeah, MMA Guru approved. That's what I think, and also I would say Jesse on crack, talking about cocaine, right? Jesse on crack to prove, right? What do you think about that, right? What do you think about it? That's what I'm saying. And guys, to be honest, I don't understand. And to me, it doesn't make sense at all. So if that doesn't make sense, right, to me, I'm pretty sure, and that there's so many inconsistencies, right? Man, there's something wrong. There's something wrong here. So I'm going to leave you with that, right? You tell me what you think. What you think about how these guys are handling this, everything that is going around here in regard to Francis Ngannou and his continuing negotiation, or with to get a boxing fight, or to what's going on with the PFL, or again the possible fight with John Jones, right? And like I was telling you, don't ever forget that the main issue here is not that much that John Jones cannot fight and all that, because already we know that in terms of champion, there's no argument here. I mean, John Jones is not a champion. John Jones is just a fighter that is stronger, that is that that has been ruling the heavyweight. He's trying to do the same thing in the heavyweight, and that's a far cry. I don't know. I'm not sure he's going to be to be able to do the same thing. And right now, the UFC is actually protecting him. Waiting to see what's going to happen, or maybe trying to book maybe a Fury fight. Instead of really testing. John Jones against Stipe, right? Because Dana White doesn't want to take any risks. What would happen if Stipe beats John Jones? Just think about that. What would happen if Stipe beats John Jones? Are they going to be able again to substantiate the narrative that John Jones, he's the GOAT and that he could have beaten Ngannou like he has beaten Ngannou, which doesn't make sense at all in all instances, but that's what the narrative is carrying out. But if Stipe Miocic now is starting to beat John Jones, come on, then we have an issue here. Okay, so man, I think that that's more than you guys can maybe take right now. 45 minutes, that's a lot. So I'm going to let you think about that. I'm waiting for your comments. In the meantime, peace and take care of yourself and enjoy the beautiful sky, beautiful day, people. All right, talk to you later, guys.